The baby shower was beautiful. Soft pink decorations, string lights wrapped around the pergola, 70 guests gathered in my mother's backyard, all celebrating my pregnancy. Except I hadn't planned any of it. I sat in a white wicker chair, draped in tulle like a throne, with my hands resting on my swollen belly, 7 months pregnant, exhausted, smiling because that's what was expected. My mother stood at the microphone she'd rented for the occasion. She looked radiant, glowing, like she was the one expecting. She'd been speaking for several minutes about becoming a grandmother, about how excited she was, about how she'd been preparing for this moment. Then her tone shifted. "Pregnancy is such a difficult time," she said, her voice taking on a gentle concern. "So many changes, physically, emotionally, hormonally." She paused, letting the words settle over the crowd. "Some women handle it beautifully, but others, well, they struggle. They become overwhelmed. Their judgment becomes impaired. They need support. They need guidance." My stomach tightened. She wasn't just talking. She was performing, building a narrative. And I finally understood what she'd been doing for the past 6 months. "As mothers," she said, looking around at the guests with practiced concern, "we have to be prepared to step in when necessary, to protect what matters most, to make sure our grandchildren are safe, even when—" She trailed off delicately. The room murmured sympathetically. People were nodding. They thought she was being supportive, caring. They had no idea. I looked at David beside me. He looked uncomfortable but said nothing. I looked around at my family scattered through the crowd. No one questioned her. No one looked concerned about what she was implying. If I stayed silent now, it was over. The narrative would be set. Everyone would believe I was unstable, that she was the reasonable one, that she was just trying to protect her grandchild. My hands were shaking, but I stood up anyway. Slowly, carefully, every eye in the backyard turned to me. My mother's smile faltered for just a second. "Sweetheart," she said into the microphone, concern coating her voice like honey, "are you okay? Do you need to sit down? You look pale." "I'm fine," I said. My voice was steady, too steady. "Actually, Mom, can I borrow that microphone for a moment?" Confusion flickered across her face, but she was too well trained to refuse in front of an audience. She handed it to me, smile still in place. "Of course, dear." I took the microphone, looked out at 70 faces, at my family, my friends, my coworkers, at all the people my mother had spent months manipulating, and I started talking. My name is Sarah. For most of my life, I believed my mother loved me. She was attentive, involved, always present at every milestone, every event, every important moment of my life. People called her devoted. I called her suffocating. But I didn't say that out loud. Not until I got pregnant. My mother, Claire, had always been the kind of woman who needed to be needed. When I was a child, she managed every aspect of my life with precision. My schedule, my activities, my friendships, my appearance. She said it was because she cared, because she wanted the best for me. When I went to college, she called every single day, sometimes twice. When I got my first job, she offered unsolicited advice about everything: what to wear, how to speak to my boss, when to ask for a raise, which coworkers to trust. At our wedding, she gave a speech about how she'd made me the woman I am today, which was true, and also terrifying. But I learned to manage it. After the wedding, I started setting boundaries, gently, carefully. I limited phone calls to once a week. I stopped sharing every detail of my life. I created distance. Not enough to cause open conflict, just enough to breathe. And for 2 years, it actually worked. My mother complained occasionally. She said I'd become distant, that I didn't need her anymore, that marriage had changed me. But she accepted it. Or so I thought. Then I got pregnant. and everything changed. I found out I was pregnant on a Tuesday morning. David and I had been trying for 6 months. We'd started to worry, started to wonder if something was wrong, started looking into fertility specialists. So when the test came back positive, we were ecstatic. We decided to wait to tell people, just a few weeks, until we were sure, until we'd seen a doctor and heard a heartbeat. I told my mother 2 weeks later. We met for lunch at her favorite restaurant, just the two of us. When I told her, I expected tears, excitement, joy. Instead, she went very still. Her face was unreadable for a long moment. "Are you sure?" she asked. "Yes," I said. "I took 3 tests. I've seen a doctor." "And David knows." "Of course David knows." She nodded slowly. "How are you feeling?" she asked. "Good," I said. "Tired, a little nauseous in the mornings, but good overall." She reached across the table and took my hand. Her grip was firm, almost too firm. "Pregnancy is harder than people admit," she said quietly. "So much harder. Your body changes in ways you can't control. Your hormones go crazy. Your mind becomes unreliable." It sounded supportive. It felt like a warning. The next day she showed up at my apartment, unannounced. I opened the door to find her holding 2 shopping bags. "I brought you prenatal vitamins," she said, walking past me into the apartment before I could respond. "The ones you picked aren't strong enough. I did research. These are better." "How do you know which ones I picked?" I asked, following her into the kitchen. "I called your pharmacy to check," she said matter-of-factly. "They were very helpful once I explained I was your mother and concerned about your health." I stared at her. "You called my pharmacy?" "Of course," she said, arranging the vitamin bottles on my counter. "You're pregnant. Someone needs to make sure you're taking care of yourself properly." She walked through my apartment, opening cabinets, inspecting the refrigerator. "You don't have enough protein." And, "Too much sugar. You'll need to deep clean this place before the baby comes." She stayed for 3 hours. By the time she left, I felt exhausted. Criticized. Invaded. I told David about it that night. "She just showed up, went through my kitchen, told me everything I'm doing wrong." "She's probably just excited," David said. "Try to be patient." "She called my pharmacy." "She's your mother. She's concerned. It's kind of sweet." I wanted to argue, but I didn't know how to explain that concern could feel like control, that care could become suffocation, that sweet could turn sinister. My mother started showing up 3 times a week, always with something: groceries, articles, advice. Each visit followed the same pattern. She let herself in, she inspected, she corrected, she stayed for hours. Every boundary I tried to set, she reframed as me being difficult, ungrateful, unreasonable. When I complained to David, he defended her. "She's just trying to help. You're being sensitive. Pregnancy hormones can make you emotional." I stopped complaining, because if my husband thought I was overreacting, maybe everyone else would too. Maybe pregnancy really was making me irrational. Maybe my mother was right. After the appointment, she was gone. No goodbye, no text, no call. That night, David's phone rang while we were eating dinner. I watched his face as he listened. "I understand," he said. "Yes, I know. I'll talk to her." When he hung up, he looked at me carefully. "Your mom is really upset," he said. "She feels like you're shutting her out. She says you've been hostile lately, and she's worried about you." "I wanted 1 appointment alone," I said. "I know, but she's your mother. She loves you. She just wants to be part of this." "And what about what I want?" "I'm not saying you're wrong, but maybe you could be a little more understanding of her feelings." I set down my fork. "Did she say anything else?" David hesitated. "She said pregnancy might be affecting your judgment, that you're not yourself lately." My hands started shaking. "And what did you say?" He said, "I said you've been stressed," he admitted, "but that's normal." That was the first time. The first time he questioned whether I was thinking clearly. The first time he sided with her over me, and I knew. She was getting to him. A week later, my cousin Melissa called. "Your mom called me yesterday," she said. "She's worried about you. She said you've been really emotional, that pregnancy has been hard on you." "Did she ask you to check on me?" I asked. "She did," Melissa admitted. "She asked me to let her know if you seemed off." Off. That word echoed in my head. After we hung up, I sat on my couch staring at nothing. My mother wasn't just talking to David anymore. She was talking to everyone, planting the same seeds, making sure that when the time came, everyone would believe her version, not mine. At 5 months pregnant, I went in for a routine checkup. My doctor, Dr. Martinez, seemed uncomfortable when she entered the exam room. "Sarah, I need to ask you something sensitive," she said. "Okay." "Have you been experiencing any mental health concerns, depression, anxiety beyond what's normal for pregnancy?" I frowned. "No, why?" She hesitated, then turned her computer screen toward me. "Your mother has called our office multiple times. She's expressed serious concerns about your emotional state. She said she's worried you might be a danger to yourself or to the baby." The room tilted. "She said what?" "She was very convincing," Dr. Martinez said gently. "She provided detailed examples. I wanted to check with you before making any notes in your file." "What kind of examples?" "That you've become paranoid, that you're isolating yourself, that you've accused her of trying to control you, that you refused to let her attend your ultrasound, which she framed as irrational behavior." I felt sick. "I'm not paranoid," I said. "I just wanted boundaries." "I believe you," Dr. Martinez said, "but I have to document this conversation." "So now my medical file says my mother thinks I'm unstable?" "It says she expressed concerns and that you denied them." I sat there exhausted from explaining, from defending myself, from trying to sound sane. "Has your mother ever tried to control your life before?" Dr. Martinez asked. I looked at her. "Yes," I said quietly. "My whole life." I left the doctor's office shaking. I sat in my car in the parking lot and called David immediately. "She called my doctor," I said when he answered. "Multiple times. She told them I'm dangerous." There was silence on the other end of the line. "David?" "I'm here," he said. His voice was different, harder. "When did you find out?" "Just now. Dr. Martinez told me. It's in my medical file." Another pause. "David, she's building a case against me. Can't you see that? She's trying to make everyone think I'm unfit." "I know," he said. I blinked. "You know?" "She called me this morning, before work. She asked if I'd noticed any concerning behaviors, if you'd seemed unstable, if I was worried." My heart started pounding. "What did she say?" "He told her no, that you were fine, that you were just pregnant and stressed because she won't give you space." "And then?" "And then she said denial is common in situations like this, that family members don't want to see the signs, that I needed to start paying attention." I felt cold all over. "She wants you to watch me. She wants me to document you. And when I told her I wouldn't do that, she said something that scared me." "What?" "She hoped I wouldn't regret not taking this seriously when something happened to you or the baby." I sank down onto the driver's seat. "She's setting me up," I whispered. "If anything goes wrong, she's already decided who's to blame." "I know," David said, "and I'm sorry. I should have believed you sooner." We were quiet for a moment. "So what do we do?" I asked. "We document everything," he said. "Every call, every message, every interaction. We protect ourselves." For the first time in months, I felt like we were on the same side, like I wasn't alone anymore. That night, David came home with a notebook. "We're writing everything down," he said. "Dates, times, what was said, who was present. We sat at the kitchen table for hours, going through text messages, call logs, emails. David pulled up his phone records. "She's called me 47 times in the last month," he said, staring at the screen. "I didn't even realize it was that many." "What does she talk about?" "You," he said. "Always you. What you're eating, how you're sleeping, if you seem emotional. She frames it as concern, but now that I'm looking back—" He stopped. "She was using me," he said quietly, "to monitor you." I reached across the table and took his hand. "I'm sorry," he said. "I should have seen it." "She's good at this," I said. "She's been doing it my whole life." We talked late into the night, about my childhood, about how she'd always made herself essential, about how she'd made me doubt my own instincts. "I don't want her around our daughter," I said finally, "after she's born." David nodded. "I'll support you." For the first time, I believed him. Then my phone buzzed. A text from my mother. "I hope you're feeling better. I know pregnancy can make you emotional. Let's talk." I didn't respond. She sent another message. Then another. 17 messages in 1 hour. Each one more urgent. Each one more manipulative. We turned off our phones, but neither of us slept. 6 weeks before my due date, my mother left a voicemail. "I'm throwing you a baby shower," she said. "I know we haven't been talking much, but this is too important. You need to celebrate this baby. I'm handling everything. 3 weeks from Saturday, my house." She didn't ask. She announced. I played the voicemail to David. "If you don't go," he said, "she'll use it as proof you're unstable. And if I do, then you're walking into a trap." We debated for days. Finally, we decided to go, but with a plan. We'd bring our documentation folder. We'd leave the moment she crossed a line. Together. The morning of the shower, my hands were shaking as I got dressed. David squeezed my hand. "If she says anything, we leave," I said, "immediately." The backyard was full when we arrived. At least 70 people, mostly her friends, her coworkers, people I barely knew. My close friends? 4. My mother swept toward me. "There's the mother-to-be," she announced loudly. Applause erupted. She guided me to a white wicker chair decorated with ribbons. "Sit, sweetheart," she said. "You look exhausted." And I knew. She was setting the stage. For 2 hours, I watched my mother perform. She opened gifts without asking me. She told stories about my childhood to strangers. She laughed about how sensitive I'd always been. She acted like this baby was hers, like I was just the vessel. Then she picked up the microphone. Her voice was warm at first, thanking everyone for coming, talking about becoming a grandmother. Then her tone shifted. "Pregnancy is such a difficult time," she said. "So many changes, physically, emotionally." She paused. "Some women handle it beautifully, but others struggle. They become overwhelmed. Their judgment becomes impaired." My hands tightened around the arms of the chair. "As mothers," she continued, "we have to step in when necessary to protect what matters most." The crowd murmured. People nodded. They thought she was being kind, supportive. I heard the accusation underneath every word. This was the narrative she'd been building, publicly. If I stayed silent, it would be permanent. I stood up. Every conversation stopped. My mother's smile flickered. "Sweetheart," she said into the microphone, "are you okay? You look pale." "I'm fine," I said. "Actually, Mom, may I borrow the microphone?" She hesitated, then handed it to me. "Of course, dear." 70 faces turned toward me, and I told the truth. "Thank you all for coming," I said into the microphone. My voice wasn't shaking anymore. It was clear, firm. "I know you're here to celebrate my pregnancy, and I appreciate that, but there's something you need to understand." My mother's face had gone pale. "Sarah, maybe you should sit down." For the past 6 months, I continued, ignoring her, my mother has been conducting a campaign, not to support me, not to help me, but to convince everyone that I'm unfit to be a mother. A ripple of confusion moved through the crowd. People glanced at each other. She's called my pharmacy pretending to be me, I said. She's contacted my doctor's office multiple times, telling them I'm a danger to myself and my baby. She's called my husband dozens of times, asking him to monitor my behavior. That's not true, my mother said sharply. It is, I said, and I have proof. I looked directly at her. This baby shower wasn't planned for me. I didn't choose the guest list. I didn't choose the gifts. They're all being sent to her house because this party was never about celebrating me. It was about establishing her as the responsible one. My mother's eyes filled with tears. You're proving my point, she said to the crowd. This paranoia, this hostility. I'm terrified for my grandchild. She pulled out her phone. I have messages, she said, where she's been hostile, where she's shut me out. She started reading them. Messages where I'd asked her to call before visiting, where I'd said I needed space, where I'd asked her to stop contacting David. You see, she said, voice trembling, these are warning signs. Someone needs to protect this baby. People were nodding. My stomach dropped. She was winning, using my boundaries as evidence. Then David stood up. Stop, he said. David's voice cut through the murmuring. Stop manipulating these people, he said, stepping forward. Stop turning Sarah's reasonable boundaries into proof that she's unstable. He pulled out his phone. You've called me 47 times in 1 month, he said. Every call, you asked me to watch for signs of mental illness. You told me I'd regret it if something happened to Sarah or the baby. The backyard went silent. She's been building a case, David continued, using me, using all of you, creating a narrative so no one would question her stepping in. My mother's face changed. For a split second, the mask slipped. Then she started crying harder. I was just trying to protect. No, you were trying to take my baby. A collective gasp moved through the crowd. I raised the microphone again. I have documentation, I said. Call logs, text messages, medical records, evidence that this has been systematic. I looked around at the guests. I'm not unstable. I'm a pregnant woman who set boundaries with her controlling mother, and she couldn't accept that. I handed the microphone back to her. We're leaving. David took my hand. We walked out together. Behind us, my mother shouted, She's not well! She needs help! We didn't look back. 2 weeks later, my daughter was born. Perfect. Healthy. I didn't tell my mother. I didn't post anything online. I kept the birth private. But she found out anyway. I was in my hospital room when a nurse came in, looking uneasy. Your mother is in the lobby, she said. Security stopped her, but she's refusing to leave. My arms tightened around my daughter. I don't want her here. She's telling staff you're mentally ill, that the baby is in danger. David stood up immediately. Call security, and the police if necessary. 20 minutes later, the police escorted my mother out. She screamed the entire way. She's not fit. Someone has to save that baby. I filed for a restraining order that night, from my hospital bed, with my newborn sleeping beside me. The restraining order hearing was 2 weeks later. I sat across the courtroom from my mother. Her lawyer called character witnesses, friends who spoke about how devoted she was, how she'd always cared too much. My lawyer presented our evidence, call logs, medical notes, the hospital incident report. The judge listened carefully, then she asked my mother a direct question. Did you contact your daughter's medical providers to express concerns about her mental health? My mother hesitated. Yes, she admitted. And did you say she might be a danger to herself or the baby? I was worried. Based on what evidence? My mother gestured helplessly. She set boundaries. She shut me out. She became hostile. The judge looked at her for a long moment. So your daughter's boundaries indicated mental illness. My mother didn't answer. The judge called the next witness, my cousin Melissa. Melissa took the stand, visibly nervous. She testified that I'd always been sensitive, that I'd become more paranoid during pregnancy. My lawyer questioned her gently. Did my client's mother tell you she'd called the doctor's office 15 times? No. Did she tell you she'd contacted hospital staff after the birth? No. Did she tell you she'd pressured the husband to document behavior? Melissa's face crumpled. No. The judge looked at my mother. You manipulated this witness, she said. She reviewed the documents one last time. I'm granting the restraining order, she ruled. No contact of any kind. My mother stood abruptly. She looked at me, and she smiled. Not defeated, knowing. Enjoy it while it lasts. Blood is blood. A chill ran through me, because I understood. She wasn't done. My daughter is 8 months old now. She's perfect. My mother has never met her. The restraining order is permanent. Last week, a package arrived. Small, pink, addressed to my daughter. Inside was a silver rattle, engraved, to my beloved granddaughter. We'll meet someday. I threw it away, but I kept the envelope. Evidence. Proof. I sleep lightly now. I check the locks twice. I don't share our location. My daughter laughs in her playpen, unaware. Unaware of the grandmother who never held her. Unaware of the battle fought before she was born. And I intend to keep it that way. Because some wars don't end. They just change shape. And I will win every one that comes next.